Money is energy, everything you need to know about attracting wealth. Money is energy. You've heard the phrase countless times. People say it casually, as if everyone already understands what it means. But what does it actually mean? If money is energy, where does that energy come from? How do you attract it? How do you open the doors that allow it to flow into your life? These questions haunted me for years, until I began digging deeper, looking beneath the surface, searching for the truth hidden underneath the world's financial illusions. For years, I heard the same advice repeated over and over again. Money is energy. Wealth is a mindset. Think abundantly. Yet nobody seemed able to explain exactly how it worked. I wanted more than motivational slogans. I wanted understanding. I wanted to know what money truly was, what wealth actually meant, and why some people seemed to effortlessly attract abundance while others spent their lives chasing it without ever catching it. I'm not speaking from theory alone. I know what it feels like to live paycheck to paycheck. I know the anxiety of wondering whether there will be enough money at the end of the month. I know the frustration of working harder and harder while feeling stuck. Yet today, my reality looks completely different. Not because I hustled harder, not because I sacrificed more, but because I finally understood the true nature of value. Let's begin with the most important question: what is money? Most people think money is paper, coins, numbers on a screen, but none of those things are actually money. Those are simply symbols. Money itself is an energy. More specifically, money is an energy that stores value. The paper means nothing. The metal means nothing. The numbers mean nothing. Their power comes entirely from the value we collectively assign to them. There was a time when money didn't exist. Human beings traded directly: fish for grain, wood for tools, labor for food. The challenge was finding a common medium of exchange. Eventually, society agreed that certain objects would represent value. Money became the middleman. It became the bridge between one form of value and another. The power was never in the object itself. The power was always in the value it represented. If money is energy, then something remarkable becomes clear. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It only changes form. If money is simply a stored form of value, then money is not finite. It is not scarce. It is not running out. Like every form of energy in the universe, it is constantly flowing, transforming, and circulating. The belief that money is limited may be one of the deepest illusions society has ever taught us. Imagine realizing there is an infinite river of value moving through the world every single moment. The question is no longer how to chase money. The question becomes how to align yourself with that flow. How can you transform your own energy into something valuable? How can you contribute value in a way that naturally attracts value back toward you? This shift changes everything. Now let's talk about wealth. Most people define wealth as having a lot of money, but that's incomplete. Wealth is your ability to generate value. Money is only one reflection of that value. Opportunities are value. Relationships are value. Health is value. Knowledge is value. Community is value. Wealth is not what you possess. Wealth is your capacity to create meaningful value that improves lives, including your own. Have you ever wondered why some billionaires lose fortunes and then create them again? It isn't because they got lucky twice. It's because their true asset was never the money. Their true asset was their ability to generate value. Take away the money and they still possess the skill. They still possess the mindset. They still possess the ability to solve problems and create transformation. That ability is wealth. If money stores value and wealth generates value, then the obvious question becomes this: what exactly is value? What makes one thing valuable while another thing is ignored? Why do people eagerly exchange their money for some things while rejecting others completely? Understanding value is the key that unlocks everything else. Think about every purchase you've ever made. Behind every transaction is a desire, safety, security, comfort, health, freedom, love, growth. Every time you spend money, you're exchanging stored value for something you perceive as even more valuable. Nobody parts with their money unless they believe they're receiving something worth more than what they're giving away. Value exists wherever needs are fulfilled, wherever desires are satisfied, wherever transformation occurs. Value helps people move from where they are to where they want to be. It solves problems, it removes pain, it creates possibility. Every thriving business, every successful creator, and every influential leader succeeds because they deliver value that people genuinely want and need. Here's where it becomes fascinating. Value isn't fixed, value is perceived. What one person treasures, another person ignores. Our experiences, memories, beliefs, and desires shape what we consider valuable. This means value exists not only in the thing itself, but in the mind of the person receiving it. Perception creates value. Value is often created through three forces: past perceived voids, present perceived virtues, and future perceived visions. Sometimes people buy things because they fill a wound from the past. Sometimes because they solve a need today. Sometimes because they represent the future they dream of becoming. Understanding these three forces helps explain nearly every decision people make. The moment you understand value, abundance begins to make sense. Money is not disappearing when it leaves your hands. It is transforming. It is moving from one form of value into another. Every exchange becomes part of a larger cycle, a cycle of giving and receiving, a cycle of energy in motion. And once you understand that cycle, you are ready to discover how to generate extraordinary value yourself. Once you understand that money follows value, the next question becomes obvious. How do you create more value? Most people assume the answer is simple: work harder, work longer, sacrifice more. But that's not how value works. Value is not measured by effort alone, it is measured by impact. The greater the transformation you create for others, the greater the value you generate. The marketplace rewards results, not merely the number of hours you spend working. Some of the hardest working people on earth are not the highest paid. Let that sink in. There are individuals waking before sunrise, working 12-hour shifts, sacrificing weekends, and pushing themselves to exhaustion. Yet their income remains limited. Meanwhile, others create enormous value in a fraction of the time. This is not a judgment of worth. It is simply evidence that hard work and value are not always the same thing. Imagine someone earning tens of thousands of dollars simply by appearing at an event for 30 minutes. On the surface, it seems unfair, but the marketplace is responding to perceived value. Their presence generates attention, influence, excitement, and opportunities. The payment reflects the value being perceived, not necessarily the amount of effort exerted. Whether we agree with it or not, value is determined by perception and impact, not just labor. This leads us to one of the biggest misunderstandings about money. Most people spend their lives chasing it. They wake up thinking about money. They make decisions based on money. They change themselves for money. Yet, the more desperately they chase it, the further away it seems to move. Why? Because money is not the destination. Money is the reflection. The real source is value. When you focus on value, money follows. When you focus only on money, value often suffers. Many people unknowingly abandon themselves in pursuit of financial security. They ignore their interests, they suppress their creativity, they silence their intuition. Instead of asking what they genuinely want to contribute, they ask only one question: what will make the most money? In doing so, they disconnect from their natural strengths and unique gifts. They trade authenticity for approval and wonder why fulfillment remains out of reach. The tragedy is that this strategy can work, at least temporarily. You may earn more money, you may achieve impressive goals, you may even reach milestones you once dreamed about. Yet, if the path requires constant self-betrayal, the cost becomes enormous. Burnout, stress, anxiety, emptiness. The bank account grows while the spirit grows weaker. Wealth without alignment often feels like success on the outside and exhaustion on the inside. Your greatest asset is not your degree, it is not your resume, it is not your job title. Your greatest asset is your life force, your creativity, your intuition, your ability to bring something unique into existence. Every remarkable invention, movement, business, and masterpiece began as an invisible idea inside a human mind. That creative energy is infinitely more valuable than most people realize. Everything changes when you begin valuing yourself more than the things you're trying to obtain. Most people place money on a pedestal and place themselves beneath it. They act as though money has the power, and they do not. But the moment you start honoring your truth, your energy, and your integrity, the dynamic shifts. You stop chasing, you stop performing, you stop pretending, and in that moment, you become magnetic. There is a voice inside you that often knows more than logic can explain. Some call it intuition, some call it inner wisdom, some call it guidance. Whatever name you give it, learning to trust that voice is essential. The more consistently you honor it, the stronger it becomes. Self-trust grows, confidence grows, alignment grows. And from that foundation, better decisions naturally begin to emerge. The highest value often comes from creating something deeply aligned with who you are. Not because it's trendy, not because someone told you to do it, but because it genuinely expresses your gifts. When your work reflects your authentic strengths, your energy becomes sustainable. You stop forcing results, you stop draining yourself. Instead, you enter a state where creativity feels natural, and the value you provide becomes impossible to imitate. There is a place where competition disappears, a place where nobody can truly replace you. It exists at the intersection of your experiences, talents, passions, insights, and perspective. No one has lived your life exactly as you have. No one sees the world exactly the way you do. The moment you embrace that uniqueness, you stop competing with others and begin creating from a space that belongs entirely to you. When alignment and self-trust combine, something extraordinary happens. You enter flow. In flow, effort feels lighter, ideas arrive more naturally, solutions emerge more quickly, time seems to disappear. This is where some of the world's greatest creations are born, not from struggle and force, but from connection. A connection to something larger than fear, doubt, or ego. There is a principle operating beneath every meaningful exchange. Give genuine value and value returns. But there is a crucial condition: the intention matters. If you give only to receive, people feel it. The energy carries the signature of expectation. True reciprocity begins when your focus shifts from what you can get to how you can serve. The more sincerely you solve problems and improve lives, the stronger the cycle becomes. The most successful people understand a simple truth. They are not obsessed with taking. They are obsessed with serving. They listen, they observe, they identify needs. Then they dedicate themselves to solving those needs better than anyone else. Their attention remains on the people they help, not on the rewards they hope to receive. Ironically, this selfless focus often attracts the greatest rewards of all. Money is not the goal. Money is the echo, the reflection, the evidence that value has been created and exchanged. True wealth begins when you stop chasing money and start cultivating value. Value yourself, trust yourself, express your gifts, serve others, create from authenticity instead of fear. Because everything you need already exists within you. The more you embrace your unique genius, the more naturally abundance begins to flow. And when value becomes your focus, supply is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you attract.